This is Rating Descending,
where we watch IMDb's worst 250 movies so you don't have to.
I'm Michelle St. Clair.
I'm Abigail Gord.
And this week we watch Talk. A biker returns from Thailand to set things straight with his girlfriend. One gang leader wants him for delivery of 2 motorbikes filled with crystal meth, and another gang leader wants him for murdering his brother. Let's watch. Hey, I wanted to offer, not a correction, but last week we were talking briefly about Shallow Hal, and I really wanted to double check if I was right.
Yeah.
I was right. He does get trapped in an elevator and hypnotized. What I forgot is he gets hypnotized by motivational speaker Tony Robbins.
Right.
I don't know how I forgot the best detail.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I thought he got cursed in Shallow Hal as well. That was a silly assumption on my end.
The mystical. No, it's not. Why would you inherently go, oh yeah, it's Tony Robbins, motivational speaker?
I have seen a lot of shit on this list, to be fair.
Yeah,
I think
that's true.
a curse is not an outlandish theory to have.
It's really not when you think about it.
It's really not. We've gone through a lot.
Yeah. The times, the tribulations,
the trials,
the trials, all of it, all of it. This is where I guess we would cue in like a clip show, I guess,
like a montage.
Yeah, it would just be you going, bleh, but I guess it would be in, there's music over it. Like, yeah. Did you ever know that you're my
It's got like a slightly blurry
hero?
filter over it.
Yeah, exactly.
And each scene ripples into one another.
It's me talking excitedly. Yeah.
And me leaning back in my chair.
And then burping. Yeah. And then
it's the rating descending experience.
And then it's me getting angrier and angrier each time it cuts back, and it's cutting to you and every time you're burping.
Every time I'm burping, which is a lot. Michelle cuts out at least 15 burps. Fuck, it's humid.
It's so fucking humid.
It's so sticky.
I didn't sign up for this.
We're getting smothered in a wet
not a fan.
blanket.
It's almost exactly 1 year ago since we watched Cabin Fever, and I in particular watched it in our old apartment that is the most humid place, I think, in the entirety of Melbourne.
Yeah.
And so it was just me trying to do work whilst absolutely melting and sweating buckets whilst watching 2 movies back to back about a bunch of teens slowly melting.
Yeah.
And you know what? Terrible experience. Would not recommend. No, I just remember it because it continued my long-standing trend of watching many of these movies in some of the worst circumstances possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of just sitting down and watching them like a normal person. Well, I'm too busy. I'm too busy for that shit.
No. You gotta watch them hunched over at your computer.
Yeah. Or, I gotta watch Zombie Strippers or Human Centipede whilst eating thick, greasy food.
Yeah. Yeah. Would it have been more tolerable if you'd bought something more fresh and healthy, or was it the choice of food that also made you feel ill?
I definitely think eating cold tomato fettuccine in my car while watching Human Centipede, the smell thickening up the entire cabin whilst watching people be sewn together. Bad choice. Easily the worst choice possible.
Well, you know my theory about cold food.
Oh my God, not this shit again. We can't do this again, can we?
Well, I just think that the reason that cold pizza, everyone, tastes better
crazy.
than hot pizza the next day is just that the heat gets in the way of the flavor. So maybe you were just tasting the fettuccine tomato, like Napolitana sauce, whatever it was, too much because the heat was no longer getting in the way.
God. Yeah, I mean, that's why through all of human history, humans make nothing but cold food. Come on, grow up, Abby. Cook your food. A lot of cold food is good,
There's
right?
lots of great cold foods.
We like hot food, though.
On occasion.
It's my
Not
primary
always.
food temperature.
Really? Mine might be cold.
Really?
I froth a cold meal. Gazpacho?
Is this good radio?
Yum. I froth a cold meal.
Oh, I love gazpacho.
Yeah, let's freeball it. We don't know what to talk about.
The win. Hot food for the win, all right? I'm doubling down. You are definitively wrong.
You know what bothers you so much about my argument that heat gets in the way of flavor?
It's bad and nonsense?
It's just, I know that deep down, you find it confronting because it's true. It's like when
No,
I watched
fully
White
no.
Lotus, I found so many aspects of the themes around it disturbing because it was confronting and honest and true. It's too honest.
You're also a rich person
probed
out
into
in
a
a
part
hotel?
of me that I just wasn't comfortable exploring. And that's exactly what happens every time I bring up the idea of heat getting in the way of flavor. You're not ready for it.
So when I eat a chip, right, you know how much I love a hot chippy,
Yeah.
right? Or for American listeners, fries.
Yeah. But we love you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
You're great.
Yeah, of course. Totally. You know how much I love a hot chippy and how much I love the flavor. I don't like putting some tomato sauce on it because I don't like how it gets in the way of the chip flavor, right? When I eat a cold chip, the very last thought I have
we're not talking about
is,
chips.
oh, too much flavor.
Although-
it's all gone.
although-
It's vanished.
Wouldn't you argue that the texture fucked?
Yeah.
But when you eat a cold chip, you can taste the potato more.
No,
Because
I wouldn't.
when you're eating hot chips, it's like a big steaming stick. And you just put it in your mouth because it tastes like salt. That's all you taste is
tastes
salt.
like
you
bland-
don't taste potato.
Nothing. I do taste potato.
No, you
I'm
don't.
sorry that I have more refined taste buds than you
Palate.
do. Sorry that I have a more refined palate. Ooh, is that a potato chip?
Easy on the flavors.
Whereas you're
Easy
just
on the
like,
tongue.
what is this, salt? I can't tell. And I'm like, you piece of shit. Get your
If
act
I'm
together.
eating a hot fry, there's no way I'm tasting anything except the scorching heat of it and salt.
Okay, it sounds like you're describing hot food as if it's always going to burn your mouth. There's a wide spectrum between like cold and too hot to consume.
Even warm chips, but cold chips, you taste every bit of that potato, don't you?
No.
Because the heat doesn't get
don't.
in the way.
You know why? Because I can't smell it anymore.
Guys, if you agree with my theory, email us at ratingdescending@gmail.com. If you disagree, I don't want to hear it.
Or you know what?
You are not a fan of the podcast.
Send Abby messages on Instagram and stop tweeting me.
No, keep tweeting Michelle.
Keep doing it.
I'm very bad at responding.
I need it so badly. But hey, speaking of needing it really badly, this week we watched Talk.
Did we need it really badly?
I think someone. All right. Yeah.
Continue.
You win.
Let's pack up.
Yeah, I think we've figured it out.
Oh, yeah.
I know we've said repeatedly this podcast is a meta-analysis of IMDb or like an endurance quest for us, but no, it's really to decide who will win this game of chicken, and it's you.
We wrap up the podcast when the burp doth ring.
Yeah, it is truly a game between which is more intolerable, me
or
being
you.
so
Which one?
fuck off.
Which one of us is more intolerable? Email us at ratingdescending@gmail.com. Please. We want to know.
Do we? No. This is like when we ask
know it's
directly on
me.
the podcast who's the favorite.
Oh, you're the favorite. I'm like the obnoxious like bimbo on the side.
I think you're the favorite and I'm the main character.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
Okay, great.
But yeah, ask not for who the death burp tolls. It tolls for thee.
Christ.
That's all I have to say.
Abandon all hope, ye who burp here.
I think I've already made the joke of not with a burp, but with a whisper.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Well, maybe not with a bang, but with a burp. I was pretty happy the other day coming up with an eat, pray, fart, so I'm just going to coast on that.
You're happy with that? You're happy with that one?
Not anymore.
No. Eat, pray, fart.
It's pretty funny.
It's funny because it's so bad.
All right. Why don't you fucking pitch something?
Vote.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
All right, this week we watched fucking Talk, all right?
I feel like my COVID brain is not doing us any favors.
You could only coast so long on that. You could only coast for so long on that.
Hey! What do you mean? Maybe I've always had COVID brain.
Look, this week we watched Talk. This was yet another one of those weeks where I'm like, this is why we do this. This was a fucking, to quote me from years ago, a freight train into your brain.
to quote a great woman, Michelle Sinclair.
This is a movie about riding bikes as fast as you can and nobody cares.
And fucking women.
And they don't really fuck any women.
They don't, but there's definitely a lot
There's
of women shaking their ass.
Yeah, there's two women who are very sexy, and then every other woman is only there to be sexy.
Yeah.
But there's not any fucking that happens in the runtime.
Yeah, the one time that there's any allusion to fucking, he like walks in and his friend in that hotel room and she's just fully clothed in bed with a bike helmet on.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, hello. Bikes, they're so hot.
Bye.
I mean, I feel like we've got a lot to say about the portrayal of women in this film because
sure,
I liked Shane.
Sure.
But she was a male fantasy character.
Well, I think this is from that period in the 2000s where men wanted to pat themselves on the back with feminism.
Yeah.
And so I feel like there's a recurring thing in this era of car movies where they made women mechanics because it makes them think they're being subversive, but they're really just both acting out their fantasy that the women likes the thing that they like, but more than anything,
yeah,
the woman being the mechanic and the owner of the shop means that they're the mum of the group.
Yeah. And I always felt that way about Kaylee in Firefly.
I disagree with you on that one. I don't feel like she's the mum of the group.
No, but she's definitely a male fantasy character because she's a mechanic. I feel like, and we always disagreed on this, but when I watched Firefly, I never liked the way that the women were portrayed in that show because I felt like they were still quite very one note, like 2D characters, you know? They felt very flat a lot of the time, like they were playing into tropes and they didn't have as much depth as the male characters. I felt like the mum character was the other female character, the one that marries Wash.
Oh,
yeah.
Zoe.
Yeah, she's definitely the mum character. She's the one that keeps them all in line. She's like, I don't think so. And then you've got Kaylee who's like, I'm a heart mechanic.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things that's tricky because it's also like with Buffy, it's like you can at the one hand reduce some of it to like Joss Whedon's women who kick butt fantasy, but at the same time there's other writers and like that metatextual understanding of it that makes it easier to go like, well, sure, that's what it means to him, but to me it means this different thing.
And hey, look, it's not
which is easier with a longer form show than a movie.
I think Joss Whedon has done worse than write these female characters, you know? But I do feel like, and I haven't even watched the Dollhouse, like his show Dollhouse.
Sure, I haven't watched that one either.
But it's got Sarah Michelle Gellar in it as well.
Does it?
I'm pretty sure.
I know it has Eliza Dushku.
But I swear I've seen the cover of it and it's her in like a little miniskirt with a gun and I'm like, cool, it's another strong female lead.
I do think that's the one that probably is like you can see the seams cracking on the Whedon machine.
Look, when allegations against
it's Eliza Dushku.
Oh, okay, I was going crazy. Cut all of that. But all I'll say is that when Joss Whedon, when it transpired that he was kind of a creepy guy, I was like, I see it.
Yeah.
I see it 100%.
Fully. I guess, I don't know. I'm not defending Joss Whedon so much as...
I think you're defending Joss Whedon.
No.
Sounds like you're defending Joss Whedon. Please. Oh, you think he's a good guy?
No.
You call yourself a feminist?
No, that's
Bitch.
not... No.
We're on air right now. And they're all listening.
Fuck.
And they're watching.
Cut it. How do I like do a little drawing that's like a what the fuck, like technical difficulties. Technical difficulties.
You know what would be a really elaborate way to end the podcast?
What?
Shoot yourself through the head.
Let me get into the key details.
All right, let's do it.
I want to get into we'll get into the key details because I want to talk about this movie. So this came out in 2004.
I don't want to talk about this movie, actually.
Then
I have other things on the agenda.
Then it is your funeral.
Item 1. This just says...
we have one of the most interesting movies in a while to talk about. We can't do this.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to derail.
This came out in 2004. The director was Joseph Kahn, who hasn't done that many movies. He did a movie called Bodied that got pretty good reviewed. It was a rap comedy movie. And he did the Without Me music video, the Eminem song, the one that's like, it's very like comic booky.
I haven't seen the music video.
It feels so empty without me.
Yeah. I haven't seen the music video.
It's really good.
So
it's a really good music video.
Is he a music video director, this guy?
Yeah, he's primarily music video.
Oh my God.
And this was his film debut, feature debut.
We've had, unsurprisingly, a lot of music video directors on this list, such as the guy that did Highlander.
But I actually think that comes a lot more from a lot of the movies on this list are from the 2000s, which is where music videos were the real, like, cutting your teeth, like the short film of the era.
Although Highlander's that exception, and that was the 80s when music videos were just coming out as any kind of, I'm not going to go as far to say like art form, but a thing that exists.
They're an art form.
Are they?
I'll go that far. If the relationship that we have is that you are very disparaging of people who are good at things
Voice
and trying
actors,
things, yeah,
music
exactly.
videos,
I'll do the.
No, I didn't mean it.
Oh, thank you.
But you can cut that bit.
Oh.
Me saying I didn't mean it. We've got to keep up the image.
Come on. This was also starring Martin Henderson, who was in The Ring and Smokin' Aces.
He was also the lead in Bride and Prejudice.
Oh, was he?
And it fucked me up because I spent the first half of the film wanting so desperately to look him up, but also being like, you know what, I'm just going to wait for Michelle to give me the details.
Yeah.
But I was like, I could just see him in my mind. Like I was like, I know he plays a romantic lead because I can see wind blowing in his hair and him looking softly at someone. He's the lead in Bride and Prejudice.
Did you double check?
Well, I just know he is because I watched that film 20 times when I was a kid.
You're right.
No life, do 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 do, without wife, boo do 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 do. Oh yeah 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 yeah, do 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 do.
We've seen a bunch, like not a lot, but a handful of Bollywood movies, more than I would have thought.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So Martin Henderson, Ice Cube. Monet Mazur, she's the one who plays Shane. Matt Schultz plays the baddie, Henry James, and Adam Scott.
Adam Scott, did not expect him to pop up.
Me neither. It's fucking
Didn't
great.
see him coming a mile off, especially because everyone apart from, like, this film has Ice Cube.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like all the draw. And then all of a sudden Adam Scott arrives and you're like, oh, thank God.
But
like a familiar face.
He wasn't a draw yet.
He wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't. What was Parks and Rec his breakout or was it Step Brothers?
You could I think there's probably a more solid argument for Step Brothers is definitely a point where he got more popular because he did play a lot of more jerky characters.
Yeah.
He was also in like Knocked Up. In 2006, he was in 4 different movies.
Yeah.
Oh, he was in The Aviator as well.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, that 2007, 2008.
It was like when he really started stepping up.
Jeez, he was in 5 movies into it. This guy never stops. Holy shit. He's in so many movies.
What I loved about Adam Scott's character in this is that he was basically dressed like David Tennant's Doctor Who. He was wearing Converse. He was wearing a pinstripe suit and blazer, like pants and blazer. He was wearing like I think a Sonic Youth shirt underneath and like he had like scruffy hair. I was like, he's like the American version of David Tennant's Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I would love it if Adam Scott was Doctor Who.
Yeah, I feel a real affinity with Ben Wyatt for sure.
I still see a lot of you in Ben Wyatt and vice versa.
Thank you.
And yet I have no Leslie Knope in me. I don't have that sunshine. All I have is Liz Lemon's cynicism.
The budget for this was $40 million, and it made 46.5.
That's shit.
Yeah, so bomb.
Yeah,
like
big bomb.
That's one of those ones where like it sounds on paper, but it is a bomb.
Yeah.
Our returning actors are all stars. Ice Cube, who is in Triple X State of the Union and Are We Done Yet? Continuing the theory that if you're in 2, you're in 3.
I have to say, Ice Cube. This was by far out of all 3 of his films so far, his worst performance.
Yeah.
So much worse than...
You know part of why I think that?
His comedic role.
It's got the least of his smile.
He's just always angry.
Yeah.
And he's like telling off his girlfriend being like, why are you looking at him?
Yeah. And he does a good angry face, but he's got a great smile.
Yeah.
You know?
Hey, chin up, babe.
Yeah.
That's what we should say to him.
Yeah.
You'd be pretty if you just smiled more.
Hey, come on, Ice. You'd be prettier if you smiled more.
Hey,
come on.
Dudes.
Cheer up.
Give me a smile.
Come on, Cube. Smile more.
I'd catcall Ice Cube. Would you?
No, it's a disrespectful thing to do.
Oh,
you fuck. Gotcha.
I think there's something feminist about objectifying men in return.
I disagree.
Oh, yeah. I think, 2 wrongs do make a right.
Oh, it's awful. This movie's also got Faison Love, who is in Big Mamas Like Father Like Son, who is specifically remembered because we spent, I feel like, half that episode talking about how we really liked Faison Love in it.
I don't remember Faison Love at all.
Wow. I could have sworn he was in something else, but I couldn't find it on his filmography. Also, Will Yun Lee, who in this was Val, one of the 2 friends.
Okay.
He was in Electra. He was one of the baddies.
No way!
Yeah.
We've got a lot of returns.
And Jay Hernandez, who plays the other friend, Dalton, was in LOL as like the
oh my God.
dad or the stepdad.
So many returns.
Yeah, it's a lot
Talkers also scoured the IMDb worst 250 list and they're like, we'll have him and him and her and him.
Yeah.
And we'll shake it all together.
Here's the full overview. Bear with me. There is a lot to describe in this movie.
I appreciate that because I, frankly, struggled to understand
That's because the first 30 minutes of this movie is actually an hour of movie. They just tell it in 30 minutes.
Yep.
So it's really got a lot going on.
All right.
Biker Carrie Ford is back in California after suddenly leaving for Thailand 6 months ago. Meeting up with his two best friends, Val and Dalton, he tries to reunite with his ex-girlfriend Shane, who is mad about his leaving. However, their reunion is interrupted by Henry James, leader of the Hellions, who is mad at Ford for stealing his bikes filled with crystal meth. Ford talks his way out of the situation and heads to a nightclub. There, they run into Trey, the leader of the Reapers, a gang that Ford had a run-in with on his way back into town with Val and Dalton. Meanwhile, Trey's brother is murdered in the bathroom by Henry James for a botched drug deal. That's never... Either it's the same drug deal or it's just never given full explanation. All right.
Yeah, okay.
Ford and Shane head back to a motel where Ford is finally able to explain that he left because he found James's drugs hidden in the bikes left in Shane's chop shop, like the mechanics, and wished to ensure Shane wouldn't go down for the crime, stashing the bikes and fleeing the country. The next day, Ford is blamed for the murder, setting 2 FBI agents on his trail. The 4 of them flee to LA, the 4 being Ford, Shane, Val, and Dalton. Flee to LA, where the bikes are, narrowly managing to avoid both Reapers and police on the way. Once back at Shane's garage, Ford convinces Trey that he didn't murder his brother and arranges to meet with the FBI to capture James. However, one agent kills the other and reveals he is working for James as the Hellions arrive. A fight ensues in which the Hellions are killed and Ford chases down James on a motorbike at near supersonic speeds before both bikes explode, killing James and for some reason not killing Ford. The 4 friends drive off into the sunset to take a vacation in Mexico. That's the movie.
That's it.
That's what happened. Did that clear anything up for you?
Yeah, a little bit. I missed the entire explanation of why he left.
Yeah. It's because it's in probably the least interesting scene, which is where they're just at the motel and then she's like, you have until when I finish my beer to explain. And he's like, all right. And then he starts talking and she starts sculling her beer. So he grabs her beer from her and then fully just throws it behind him.
So romantic.
Just keeps talking.
Claude pointed something out a few weeks ago when we were watching, I think, like Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul.
Sure.
About how there is often like there's this really tired trope of how like even a strong, smart female character, her whole plot is just, why did you leave? And when are you coming back? And it's this like constant need for the man to be around them all the time. And like, even like Uncharted in the 4th game, Claude very rightly was like, I hate how Eleanor's storyline in this is just nagging him not to do this mission. Like she's better than this.
It's my main critique of the 4th game.
Yeah. And it's so true. Like, I feel like there's so many things that resort to just giving the woman the storyline of she's trying to make the man stay. And it's like, that sucks.
Yeah. But have you considered that at the end of this movie, Ford's girlfriend Shane and James's girlfriend China, played by, what's her name, Jamie Presley?
Yeah.
From My Name is Earl. Who also, the guy that plays her boyfriend in that show, what's his name, Darnell Crabman, is also in this movie.
No way!
As one of the Reapers.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we didn't recognize him.
I did. That's how I am telling you in this moment.
Okay.
Speak for yourself, babe.
I'm sorry.
Babe, speak for yourself.
Babe.
But have you considered the bit where Jamie Presley and Shane fight in what I wrote down as the Pepsi versus Mountain Dew women fight?
Because it's super fucking high.
They each position themselves in front of a giant Pepsi and a giant Mountain Dew fight before they just like basically joust with motorbikes back and forth a few times.
And there was a couple of bits where I was like, at one point it was genuinely cool and like the China takes out a knife and is slashing at her on the bike. So I was like,
she like hops up on the bike like a fucking Scythian horse archer.
Some of it was sick. But then there was a couple parts of the fight where, like, again, another trope where the 2 women fight and it's almost homoerotic just at certain points. Yeah. They're a bit, like, too close and you're like, here we go.
I get you. But at the same time, like, this movie does fucking rip.
This fucking goes.
It's fucking
It is
rips,
on one.
man.
This film is
good.
on one.
Yeah.
Credit me as saying Talk was on one.
Yeah.
I think the action sequences were really fun.
Really fun.
At the same
genuinely.
time. And this is probably maybe just the download that we had. The action sequences were so loud and the talking was so quiet.
Oh, that's just like film mixing.
Yeah. And it meant that like every action scene was like overwhelmingly loud. And then every time they were talking, I was like, what? And I think that also stunted my viewing pleasure.
Huh?
What?
I was just doing the classic turn it up, turn it down. Like I had my 2 set numbers.
Same. 100%.
Yeah, but it's important contextually. Like, I want to talk about some of the scenes in this movie because they are fucking insane.
Yeah.
But it's important to talk contextually because, like, the Fast and the Furious, like the original one, back before they dropped the's, just like Facebook, came out in like 2001. And this came out a few years after. It is so clearly trying to be Fast and the Furious, but bikes.
Yeah.
To that effect, it is constantly making fun of it. Like, the movie begins with two fucking streetcars doing a quarter-mile race, and the bike manages to, like, speed past both of them, causing a sign to spin around that just says on it, "Cars suck."
Yeah. Also, that first fight scene, it had a very Kurt Wimmer effect for me.
Yes.
In that there's a bit where the camera travels into the engine and then like something explodes in the engine and then it comes out of the exhaust and through an eye.
Yeah.
It's very
really ultraviolet. Wait, are we at this fucking point now where we're like fucking, like, the way that we would talk about good movies and like, oh, the references, like, we're like fucking connoisseurs?
It's very Kurt Wimmer.
God damn it. God fucking damn it, man.
It's very ultraviolet.
The influencers.
And actually, it's giving me Norbit vibes. You know what I mean?
Christ.
Very Norbit inspired.
Well, that's why he became the head of Paramount, you know?
There was a lot of very ambitious, flashy direction that I fucking loved.
I did. And you know what? Despite the fact, like, I wanted to love this movie more, but it's also fucking gibberish, right?
It is. The plot is actually really hard to follow.
I have nothing but respect for Joseph Kahn, the director, because I found some like production info that I was like, this is production info. I won't bother to save it for trivia. Because in an interview, he admitted that he actually turned down the director's chair for this movie 3 times because he didn't know anything about motorcycles. And he eventually caved in, but he made the film with the intention of making an affectionate parody, a film that basically mocked motorcycle racing. And he also stated in other interviews that the studio prevented him from full creative control because he had wanted to make a dumb movie for smart people.
They always say that though, don't they?
No, but he's right. He's right though. Because there's parts of this that are like so cleanly directed and it's like yes.
Like which bits?
Some of the bits, like,
what am I missing?
In the club, for example, where there's like the standoff between them and it's like all in the eyes with these like perfectly paced shots. It's not like expositional dialogue at all. It is like a race, but with their like looks to each other. And then in those fucking stunt scenes, they're incredible, which is why I'm like, yeah, okay, so the high octane bit, like, you don't put cars suck genuinely, you know, it's a bit. I'm like, he's doing a bit, you know, he's got bits.
No, it's always easy to claim that you were doing a bit when you've fucked up a project. I do that all the time. If I fuck something up, I'm like, oh, it's just a joke.
You get given this script, what do? You fucking play it fully straight, or you do it, you go like, this is a silly piece of shit.
Well, did he write it or did someone else write it?
Someone else wrote it.
And they put it into his lap 3 times.
Yeah, they kept being like, you do it. You, Mr. Music Video. And he went, I don't know anything about bikes. More like, this script sucks. And then he's like, all right, I'll do it, but I'm going to make fun of it.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's fine. That doesn't matter.
A dumb movie for smart people.
Yeah.
Who says we're smart? Who said we're smart?
Well, that's why we didn't like this movie enough.
Yeah, that's why we didn't get it.
If we were smarter, we would get it.
I just don't.
I just went over my head.
Yeah.
There it was, the bike going. I'm like, whoa.
I think I'll blame it on COVID brain again, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm just so tired all the time.
Oh, my God. Oh, Abby.
Sorry if I'm not funny, guys. It's just COVID.
Abby. Ooh, she got a plan.
Abby, it's been 4 years.
Yeah, you're still saying that in our final episode.
Yeah, it's just COVID brain, guys.
Okay, so I have a few different scenes I want to talk about. But before, I want to do just a small moment, because there's the initial confrontation where Henry James and the Hellions show up, right? Which is fucking buck wild, because at this point you have no explanation. It also makes Henry James the third person in 10 minutes who specifically refers to Ford being out in Indochina. Something that was not what it was called in the 2000s.
Oh, and he also just busts out a bunch of slurs throughout the film.
He does. And Ford corrects him, being like, actually, that would imply China. And I was in Thailand, idiot. And I'm like, but he was being racist, though.
Trying to correct him on, is that the bit you took issue with?
Yeah. It's very, like, centrist. Like, actually, your racism was factually incorrect. I'm like, that's not the fucking, oh, my God.
Also, I love that the guy that played Henry James spoke like this.
Yeah.
You want to do that, baby? Hey, China, go powder your nose.
he knew what he was doing. He's also in Fast and Furious.
Right.
As I think like Dom Toretto's friend, and he like comes back for Fast 5.
I've never watched a Fast and Furious.
Really? I have watched the first 5 of them.
Wow, that's more than I expected.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
No shame. Like a bit of shame.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I've watched the 3rd and the 4th one the most, and those are easily the worst ones.
Why? Was it Chelsea?
God, I wish I could say it was. God, I wish I could.
Hey.
I'd be living in bliss if I could blame it on my sister, but alas.
You could blame it on COVID, brain.
in like 2009?
Yeah. You were a trendsetter.
Yeah. It was the old, it was SARS.
It. Yeah.
The old COVID.
You're actually an empath. So in the anticipation of a pandemic, you yourself felt sick 10 years prior.
Like empaths, I feel empathy.
Yes.
And so, like empaths, I'm also intolerable. But what I particularly loved about that scene is there's this specific bit. I'm trying to remember the line because he's trying to get him because he's like, you stole my bikes that have a ton of crystal meth in that. We don't see that. It's all just like offhandedly mentioned by the characters in this scene.
That's why this film is so confusing, by the way. They tell you everything and they never show it.
The inciting incident happens off screen before the movie begins.
Yeah.
It kind of begins and we're second act.
Yeah, it begins and we're in second act and then he goes back and explains the inciting incident. He's like, so this is what happened. But again, I couldn't hear it, so I was like, what happened? What?
Last time on Torque.
I'm Shane.
But yeah, he's specifically saying along the lines of like, oh yeah, he's like, yeah, if he's smart, he knows that if he hurts me, he's never getting those bikes back. And then he's like, well, maybe I'm not that smart. And then, Ford gets chucked a gun and he holds it to Henry James's head, where there's a weird cut to his like number 2, like that archetype of the dragon. I think his name's Luther in the movie, who just goes like, he just like flicks his tongue out like he's a snake. He
does.
He does that a few times, but this is like a half-second shot where he does it.
Also, can I just quickly say as well, this film went crazy on band t-shirts.
It did.
Luther was wearing a Motorhead shirt. Fucking Shane was in a Rolling Stone shirt. Again, Adam Scott's character had a Sonic Youth shirt. And the main character was wearing a Ramones shirt the whole time. And I have to say, it's distracting. It's genuinely distracting. I'm like, I get why you don't see band t-shirts in films that often.
It's just that thousands fashion, babe.
And I just love that it's, Ramones and Stones. It's like, these people are hardcore.
Fuck, man. You listened to the Ramones in 2004?
That's sick.
You're fucking rad,
Oh my
man.
God, this woman listens to the Rolling Stones. Dream woman.
Holy shit, she knows who the Stones are.
Whoa.
I'm gonna fucking cream in my jeans, man. My
Way
fucking
ahead of you.
bike suit, bro.
Consider me creamed.
Covered in nut. I'm fucking nutting.
Covered in nut.
I'm fucking nutting in my suit, bro. I can't keep doing this. I'm ruining the leather with my
Never
nut.
say covered in nut ever again.
Ruining my fucking leathers with my nut.
To nut is a verb, but you've now made it a noun.
To nut.
The nut. To nut is a verb.
To ponder the nut.
Well, I'm ruminating on the nut. No, the fact that you made nut a noun is just horrendous. It's actually a sin. It's the 8th deadly sin.
It's nut. So there's pride, gluttony, nut.
Turning nut into a noun.
It's different from lust.
Yeah.
There's lust and there's nut.
Oh, it's the sequel to lust. It's the follow-up. The climax, if you will.
But I'd say it's the spiritual sequel.
Yeah.
Like, the climax is pretty good.
Thank you so
That's better
much.
than what I said.
Yeah, we'll cut what you said. Now I have the power of the edit. Cut all of it.
If you want the power of the edit, you got to edit these.
Oh, no, thank you.
Yeah, that's what I fucking thought. That's why this is my podcast, and you're the fan favorite.
No, I'm the... Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I gotta get through some of these sequences because they're nuts. Because one of my favorite
nuts?
bits...
Don't bring back nuts.
They're fucking nuts. Because one of the bits is where Ice Cube is chasing him down after they like go through the palm trees where they all suspiciously are suddenly driving dirt bikes. And then they're driving to a train until they launch on top of it.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's the two of them riding their bikes along the top of the train, at which point Ford like hops down in between two of the carts, like sideways, and then like manages to turn his bike again and uses it to bash down the door of the train, and then starts slowly driving through the train carriage to drive out the front of the train.
I didn't realize that a motorbike is essentially a multi-tool. You know, you can get so much done with a bike.
I kind of got the implication that they didn't want me to believe that this was men riding bikes so much as these were men who are bikes.
Yeah.
Right? Like bikemen wear bikes, you know? It's like a mermaid, but, well, the mer must be the fish bit, so it's got to be a bikeman.
Yeah. A bike maid.
Well, maid would be women, wouldn't it? So...
There's women in this?
Well,
Jeez.
yeah. Well, they would be bike maids.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I'm saying is there's only two genders when it comes to bike centaurs.
There's two genders?
Yeah.
When it comes to bikes, that's fucked.
Yeah.
That is not representing the full community of bike fanatics. Do you want to recant what you just said?
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
For any bike centaurs out there, I recant.
Please. That's fucked up.
A trans woman and activist by nature of being trans, if the internet is to believe, will recant the harmful things I said about the bike tour community.
Thank you. That's all I asked for.
I'm so sorry.
You don't want to alienate our largest listening demographic.
It's not my fault. English isn't built for this nuance. But one of the other bits that was fucking wild. These are related to each other. They lead into each other. So they hide in the back of a race car man's truck to get into LA and pass all the police checkpoint because they mention that the entirety of LA is covered in police checkpoints because he is suspected of killing one guy.
Yeah. Yes. And when you see them get pulled over for a checkpoint, it's night and it's raining and it really feels like you're watching a Holocaust film. Like they're doing some point check on a railway line in Poland, and they're about to pull out the Jews and just shoot them in the back. Like that's the vibe when they're doing I was like, why do they have just in this shot alone 300 officers scouring the streets? Yeah, it's LA. It's not like they don't have an abundance of other things to focus on.
Outside of LA.
Yeah,
and that apparently requires the attention of the entire LAPD. And multiple FBI officers.
Yeah,
and
also. The fact that Adam Scott is an FBI officer is fucking wild because, once again, he looks like Doctor Who.
No, but he even addresses it. He shows up and he's like, what, you were expecting some fucking idiot who dresses bad and with a $10 haircut? Oh, yeah, this is my partner. She's pretty and has braids in her hair. Bet you weren't expecting that either, you fuck.
He's such an awful person.
He's doing such a great... He's easily the highlight of the movie. And Justine Machado as his assistant is doing so good. Counterpart?
Assistant, wow. She's a colleague.
Well, because
you are fucked up because
he's clearly taking the lead over her.
There's also a bit where he's talking to someone. He's like, well, clearly you struggle when I string words into a sentence. So let's start again. Truly the most insufferable man.
I just never expect, because of how good he is as soft boy Ben Wyatt, how good he is at playing a complete asshole.
Well, he is soft boy Ben Wyatt, but at the same time, he's also very grumpy, cranky boy Ben Wyatt as well.
And that's where I relate hardest to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're stopping at, now it's daytime. They're stopping at another point, but this time Adam Scott's there and he's onto it. He knows that they're fucking in there. Where suddenly then, it's building to this moment of suspense. And then suddenly the back of the truck blasts open. Apparently at some point in between when they got in, they placed all of the food and beverage stuffs that were in the back of the truck right at the very front and decided to drive the guy's car through that over Adam Scott's head.
And he's shooting at them.
There's a shot of him standing there fully whilst bikes are racing around him as he fires off 10 bullets directly at them.
It's really weird watching Adam Scott fire a gun. There's something wrong about it. Also, that bit really bothered me because when he opens the truck and just sees food stacked everywhere, he looks resigned. He's like, oh. And I feel like he would have been never mind, guys. And yet they burst out the back of this truck and make it a fight. I was like, you could have just laid low. I think he was basically resigned to the fact that you weren't there.
Yeah, you fucking nailed it.
Yeah.
Not to mention Ice Cube then suddenly shows out of nowhere, drives past them and yells in terrible ADR, fuck the police.
That bit, yeah, he does. I was going to bring up that exact moment where it's a wide shot of him driving, so you can't see his mouth, but all you hear is, fuck the police.
Yeah.
So
Which,
good.
This would have been close enough to the release of the song where they're just doing it as a bit.
Well, I think Fuck the Police came out in the early 90s, right?
Oh, did it? Well, yeah, but this is 2004 is close enough to that as well.
Yeah.
Where the association with Ice Cube is still as the rapper from NWA.
Yeah.
Not as his own thing.
Yeah.
But what I loved is that immediately then follows, then, Adam Scott and Justine Machado like start driving after them and stuff. Insane highway chase. Not even like, not quite Matrix 2 level, which is an incredible scene, but insane highway chase where we then cut to Dane Cook. This is now the second time in the movie that Dane Cook has had an incredibly unexpected cameo. Didn't see it coming.
Dane Cook?
He probably the most famous and in some ways controversial comedian of the 2000s. There was a point where he was the highest paid comedian on the planet. He was bad. He's not a good or funny comedian, and he's known for kind of stealing jokes and being a bit of a hack. No, he's not funny, but there was a point where he was the guy that from comedy. He's cameoing in it twice.
Right.
Earlier, he gets beaten up by the baddie, and so now he wants to give up his bike, and so he's in a car, and there's a point where Adam Scott is driving this fucking Humvee. We see the dash 100 miles an hour.
How much is that in kilometers?
160 kilometers an hour.
The fuck?
She's driving at 160 kilometers an hour, where he quips to Justine Machado, if you don't like my driving, get out, before he screams, launches himself into the air, and then we cut to Dane Cook's car, where they have to flee because Adam Scott's car comes from directly vertically above. No forward momentum is maintained. It just falls completely upside down, not rolling. It just falls as if dropped from an airlift.
Vertical, yeah.
And destroys the car.
Did Dane Cook play the guy that's trying to get a photo of Henry in China?
Yeah.
That's him.
That's Dane Cook.
Right. Okay. The guy that's on vacation with his girlfriend.
Because he was like, I just got a motorbike. I'm going to be a biker. And then he gets beaten up. And in the car, he's like, can I return the bike? It's only got 200 miles on it. And his girlfriend is like, whatever.
Yeah.
But she doesn't say anything because she's a woman.
The story arc between those two was probably the strongest in the entire film. Man goes on holiday ruined, tries to return his bike, can't return the bike. There's so much conflict.
I think that's one of Vonnegut's 6 story types. There's a little niche writing joke for you.
Blake Snyder's 6-step program. I couldn't figure out the end of that joke.
Well, I mean, look, I want to, in some ways I want to pivot, but at the other point, how can we not talk about some of the end sequence?
Well, I really, really want to talk about, the one thing I want to talk about is just the final bit where everything's resolved and tied up.
Yeah.
And he turns to his boys and his woman, Shane, and he goes, let's ride. And then Nickelback's someday, somehow, gonna make it alright, but not right now. And they all just ride into the distance. Claude was working at his desk and he turned around and he was like, is that really it? Is that really how they ended it?
This is after... As I said in the overview, he gets on a special motorbike to chase after Henry James and is fucking breaking the sound barrier, glasses shattering, and it's on full LA streets. He's weaving through traffic and civilians.
The editing on the final chase, I think the editing between Shane and China was fairly well done.
Yeah, I think it was pretty good.
The sequence of the actual fight between Ford and Henry.
Insane.
And by the way, do you think that's just a random coincidence, Henry Ford?
No, it's got to be a joke.
Yeah. But the editing was just batshit crazy. I felt like it felt a bit like an acid trip because nothing was really moving as it should. It was clearly a green screen a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Clearly it was just a shot of something and then they put an explosion in a corner.
Because there's also, he's going so fast, his face skin is flapping in the wind, and then the bike starts coming apart and he's getting shot at, so it starts leaking oil. So then Henry James flicks a flame behind him, which lights the oil trail. And so he's riding so fast, he's outrunning the fire until he does his plan, which is he goes over a jump and just fully lands on top of Henry James's bike.
It's so good.
And then they explode and he just is launched and he's fine. He's so just totally fine.
It's so fucking good. I could watch this film again easily.
Easily. I gotta watch it again.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear some trivia?
Yes.
It's you and me. It's you and me. Look at me. Look at me.
I am looking
We're here.
at you.
This is trivia time.
Yeah, I'm looking at you.
Trivia time.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
here.
Great.
Yeah.
So, speaking of that bike, the jet turbine Y2K bike that Carrie Ford rides to catch Henry actually exists. And one of them is owned by Jay Leno.
Oh.
Didn't see that coming.
Isn't Jay Leno a massive man?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if he's that tall. Is he tall?
Isn't he huge? Like really tall?
I do think he's pretty big.
You know what? There's a lot of bikers that are very tall, but for some reason I imagine Jay Leno on a bike would look particularly big.
He's 1.8 meters.
Oh, he's not that tall.
Yeah, he's 5'11". He's almost 6 feet.
Cut it.
It's still tall. I mean, we're both taller than Jay Leno.
No, just get it.
Hey, I'm riding a bike. It's really fast. It's an okay first go at Leno.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Here's another one. The semi-truck used in the 1971 movie Jewel is seen in the beginning of this movie when the bikers are racing through the hills. Jewel is like one of Spielberg's first features.
I think it's about the truck that's following a guy through the... I watched that as a kid on free-to-air TV, and I always, as a kid, mistaked it for Mad Max.
Oh my God.
So people would be like, did you like Mad Max? And I was like, loved it. Thinking about Jewel the entire time. But I thought it was so creepy.
It's so
like
good.
The big bumper of the truck coming up behind him, and
it's fucking great.
The truck and them being on the road and the big truck behind him and
Khan
the
was
bumper.
pulling from Spielberg, Wimmer, the influences in this movie. This
Is it like sacrilege to say Kurt Wimmer and Steven Spielberg in the same breath?
I think so, yeah.
Probably is.
I think we're going to cinematic hell for
We
this.
are. Oh, we're in cinematic hell.
That's true.
We've been in hell this whole time, baby.
We were cursed there long ago. And one day we may get out.
Wishful thinking, Michelle.
We're going to, literally, if our goal succeeds, this podcast will get popular enough that we will not be able to escape. We'll just have to continue to watch bad movies, won't we?
Yeah, do us all a favor and please don't listen to this podcast.
Only then may we be free.
Yes. Release us from the shackles of this hellish existence.
Here's another piece of trivia. This movie was shelved for almost a year before release.
Why?
So it was actually finished in 2003.
Why?
I just assumed the studio was like, we don't need to release this.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is usually the case. While in post-production on this film, director Joseph Kahn appeared in an episode of MTV's Cribs. He didn't want to, but relented when MTV told him that they would bring the film's cast on Total Request Live in exchange, so to promote the film and stuff. I love that this guy wanted nothing to do with this silly action movie and MTV and all of that, and every time he was like, all right, but I'm going to make fun of it, and everyone's like, yeah, okay, and it just didn't work out for him. That makes me sad.
What was Cribs about? Was that the whole welcome to my crib MTV thing?
Yeah, when crib was your home.
Was it just showing people your crib?
Yeah.
Do they do up the crib? What's the...
Well, ostensibly, you already have a pretty good crib.
What, so it's just a tour of people's cribs?
Yeah, this was back before, social media meant you had direct access to celebrities. So, getting to see their cool homes was the whole thing.
All right, fair.
I mean, now we make insane reality shows. This is when, the reality show could be what does someone's house look like?
Do you remember that MTV show Pimp My Ride?
Yeah, absolutely. Easily the most famous MTV show ever.
Yeah.
That one, at least, they were pimping their ride.
There was a target, a goal.
They would pretty much always obliterate the car in the process.
They would spray paint purple flames on it and be like, looks better than ever.
Yeah. But also, they would famously do it up in a way that meant the car basically wouldn't run after the show's camera stopped rolling.
Yeah.
Okay, so this piece of trivia is interesting. I put this down because I found it on IMDb, and I'm just, just as much as being interested in good trivia, which is good radio, I'm also personally interested in the oddities of IMDb as a whole, right? Because that's the nature of this podcast.
Hey, yeah, 100%. This isn't just exploring the list, it's exploring the strange website that is IMDb.
If this was just a bad movie podcast, I wouldn't have included this. But because it's about IMDb, I did.
I can tell you're passionate because you're gesticulating.
Thank you.
It's getting serious.
Thank you. Yeah, so I included this. So someone added this to the trivia section of Talk 2004. Italian censorship visa number 97930 delivered on 27 April 2004.
Who had that information?
I don't know what that means.
And who had that?
What's an Italian censorship visa? Is that... What does that mean?
Are you allowed to trace who enters the IMDb trivia?
No, not as far as I could tell. Maybe someone better at computers than me could, but
that's so bizarre.
I have no idea what that means. I don't know what a censorship visa is. I don't know if it's related to this movie's rating.
Did the film get a visa?
Sorry. Also, it's worth adding 0 out of 4 found this interesting.
I'm glad 4 people went to the effort to report this comment.
But maybe we should make it 1 out of 5. I find it interesting.
Do you?
I find it interesting. I don't find it helpful. I have at least just one weirdly written goof.
That's the new theme song.
No, come on. I spent so much time in the last one. Okay, that's great. Really just blow out the mic, huh? We're really at each other's throat this episode, aren't we?
The vibes? Menacing.
This is a weirdly written goof. I just love the intensity of it. At the very end of the movie, late afternoon, they say they are set to go south to Mexico, and they say, let's ride. The next and very last shot of the movie shows them driving in the desert, but the shadows are pointing to the right, indicating they are going straight north. If they'd been driving the next morning, this would be okay, but there is no indication between these two shots that a night has passed. But immediately before this, i.e. the second last line, Val says he has someone he needs to pick up. It's pretty clear he means Nina, who was last seen the previous day, about 45 minutes ago in film duration, at Earl's Diner. The presence of a fifth rider in the final scene is the supposedly missing indication that a substantial amount of time has passed. So it was fine.
I struggle to bring a level of detail to important things in my life. The idea that someone could pour so much attention and detail and time into something like that kind of makes me feel bad about myself. Like, how come I've never poured such interest and passion into just one minor thing?
Well, why didn't you notice?
Yeah.
Why didn't you notice, huh? Why,
I was too distracted by the Nickelback song, to be honest. Yeah.
Do you want to hear some reviews? Sorry, I was constipated. Do you want to hear some reviews?
Yeah.
Reviews!
Goofs! That's my new music for everything.
That's it?
Yeah.
You want me to take out all the music?
Take out the main theme as well.
We wrote the main theme together, but I wrote all the incidental music.
You did.
Yeah. So you're doing this
to
me?
I provided the vocals, baby.
Only for goofs.
Fuck.
So this is 22% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 4.1 on IMDb. It actually still has 4.1. It's one of the few times that it hasn't actually changed since we locked the list. Anne Hornaday of the Washington Post said that this was the loudest, trashiest, stupidest, cheesiest celebration of ritualized male aggression of 2004. Which is pretty intense, and I actually am pretty sure there would be something that is even trashier, stupider, and more ritualized male aggression in 2004, for sure. In 2004? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
However, I did also add, the film has since gone on to acquire a cult following among sports bike racers and enthusiasts, as well as racing film fans. The film has also garnered some appreciation for its over-the-top stunts, fast pace, and stylish action sequences.
I mean, it is a very visually striking film.
Yeah.
Again, we're talking Kurt Wimmer.
No, we're talking Joseph Kahn.
I know, but we're talking Kurt Wimmer inspired.
Here's an IMDb review titled Best Movie Ever. I want to make a compilation of all the reviews that we've read that are titled that by JCL 4129.
There's a lot of JCLs.
Oh, yeah. John Curtis Lewis.
Lynch. Yes.
Lynch is much better. It was so awesome. I want to mention now, part of why I like this is there's no punctuation. It was so awesome. My favorite movie along XXX 1 and 2, Elf, POTC, Harold and Kumar, Go to White Castle, Top 100, seen it over 30 times, each time excellent. The coolest stunts ever on a movie screen. Hope they make another one. I could see it over and over again and never ever be bored. To call this movie bad, you'd have to be crazy. Definitely better than the Alfie remake. Jude Law is by far the worst actor ever on screen. That's actually a full stop. Talk had a really, really great cast. Matt Schultz has to be the greatest villain ever. I loved all of the really awesome motorcycle action. It's a 5-star movie, hands down. The plot was not lame. I was so excited when I left this movie. I had to buy it when it got on DVD, and I've watched it ever since. 10 out of 10.
Sorry, I missed that. Could you do it again?
Yeah, for sure. I'll email it to you at ratingdescending@gmail.com. Oh my God. Yeah, I really love that, and I love that it has such a tangent on Jude Law in the middle.
I know, I love that it really had a full stop after that Jude Law line, as if he really wanted us to take a moment and think about
where
that.
He was like, I think the sentence ends here.
Yeah.
Here's one titled, I Thought This Movie Was Great, by Sud18. I understand if this is not your type of movie, but you're probably missing the whole point of it. It's bikes and babes and comedy. If that's not your thing, stay away. But I love action movies, and this one was like Fast and Furious, but more clever. It also has one of the best train race sequences ever put on film. Another bonus are the women. Monet Mazur is a stunner. Jamie Presley is made for leathers. Christina Amelia is in there for 2 seconds, is hot. I would easily recommend this to anyone with a passing interest in bikes or motorsports, but don't expect realism. This is highly stylized, so maybe you should come in with an appreciation for that too. It helps if you like John Woo and that sort of stuff. At least rent it. It's a fun watch. It's 10 out of 10.
So weird that he mentioned John Woo. Last night I watched a John Woo film.
Which one?
A Better Tomorrow.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yeah. Wait. No, I'm thinking of a different one, but I know it.
It's so camp and so silly, and I can really see why it took at least the Eastern world by storm. I don't know how popular it was in Hollywood, but it's definitely a cult classic, and it is, it's fucking fantastic.
Did such an awful job at releasing them even on home media in the West.
Yeah.
But those movies rip.
Yeah.
I just love it's bikes and babes and comedy.
Yeah.
Here's a longer one, and my last one, titled "This Movie is Completely Ridiculous, but I Love It." Spoiler, by Flip Hop. If they just cut out saying bitch a few times, I would give it a 10. The plot is Shakespearean. The dialogue is really corny, but the film makes fun of its own dialogue via the relationship between the two lead characters. The FBI cop is amazingly cast, so is his sidekick. He is like some Starbucks sarcastic teenager who got a Hummer for his birthday. The visuals, though, are what make this movie. They are absolutely crazy. Even with The Matrix and all the other movies like it, the visuals in this film are still quite something to see. They have unusual angle changes, strange lighting, atmospheric effects, zooms, low angles of motorcycle chases, etc. There are numerous times where a 0.5 second frame is injected in a really weird manner that is quite striking, such as when the woman pushes the trigger on the explosives, or when the bike rider flips up her knife in slow motion and catches it. The shot of Ice Cube looking at Ford through the train is also quite striking. No idea why Ford was in quotes. The stunts are incredible. The product placement is completely over the top and obvious in a really silly way, but somehow it fits with the movie because the movie is over the top in a really silly way too, and motorcyclists and racers really do have corporate logos pasted all over their bodies, so it doesn't seem ridiculous. The evil woman reminds me of a Disney villain from Cinderella or something. If you stop trying to analyze everything so much, you just might have a jolly good time eating... You might just have a jolly good time eating popcorn as you watch the explosions. Pip, pip, and motorbikes flying all over the place. That's a 10 out of 10. Even though they didn't cut out saying bitch a few times. Yeah. But that was them on IMDb. What was your review?
Well, that was Pip from Great Expectations review.
Oh, blimey. I love this motorbike.
My review, look, I had a fantastic time. I feel like I really struggled to follow the plot, but it didn't stop me from enjoying myself. It was camp. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was 83 minutes long, which we love.
It's not even 90.
Not even 90. Fantastic.
Your favorite.
Honestly, yes, my favorite. And I would watch it again because it's so camp. Again, I've really lost sight of these reviews. It's meant to be about if it's a good film, but now I'm like, was it tolerable?
Did I want to jump out of the window while watching this?
Yeah, no? Okay, 10 out of 10.
Well, it didn't make me vomit into my own sad depression.
Yeah,
so.
You weren't eating cold fettuccine in the car watching this one, so you're probably safe. I'm gonna give it honestly, if 5 is a good year, like we keep saying, the epitome of a bland, fine, whatever the fuck
completely
movie.
Neutral average
movie where it should be good, but it's not bad either.
Well, yeah, nothing doesn't work, but none of it works.
Exactly. This would be better than that. Because I would watch it again. Maybe I'd give it a 5.5 for the effort. 5.5 for the effort.
Nice. I think more than anything, for me, I have the same thing of I think parts of it rip. I think honestly Joseph Kahn knows what he's doing, but I also think this movie's fucking gibberish and it feels like it's cut to hell. I'm I swear there's 20 minutes of this movie missing. It's insane.
Yeah.
And I think really to summarize my thoughts, I want to read out one of the quotes because when it happened in the movie, I was like, what? What the fuck? Because it's right at the end in the final confrontation when Henry James storms in because it turns out Adam Scott is really working for him. And he goes, "Do you really think I was stupid enough to walk into a trap? Wait, say hello, bitch." And it doesn't really make sense. It feels very unclear why he says wait and then kind of starts again. Don't understand it. I think this movie's a 5 for the opposite reason of why A Good Year is a 5, which is this movie is perfectly a great movie and a bad movie in equal measure. It balances. It is the fucking Thanos holding the knife, balance in all things.
Just looks like you're about to finger a pussy. She was like holding out her index and middle finger.
It's just
perfect balance.
It's perfect balance.
Perfect pH balance.
It's perfect balance. It's perfect balance.
It's perfect.
There's a point where Adam Scott just described like 3 guys and a woman.
Nice.
A woman. So yeah, I give it a 5.
Fantastic.
But that was just our opinion, right?
Yeah.
If you want to hear more of our opinions,
we've got a lot.
Well, you can find some of the other episodes as well as some extra things in general of us on all sorts of social media. You can find us on Twitter at RateDescendPod, on TikTok at RatingDescending, or you could even email us at ratingdescending@gmail.com.
Or you can find us on our personal accounts. My Instagram is Abigail J. Ward.
Or you can find me at Michelle.St. on Twitter and Instagram.
And please, fucking please, leave us a review.
Please.
Please.
We need it.
We're hungry
so
for it.
Badly.
Hungry for a review.
Well, that was talk.
Yeah.
Abby, what are we watching next week?
Next week, we are watching Inspector Gadget.
Yes.
And this is one of Michelle's personal favorite films.
Yeah. No, whoa, hang on. No. What I will say is there was a point, I think the early last year or late 2020, where I sat down with my darling girlfriend, Brooke, to just unironically watch this movie. And it was only then that I found out it was on the list. So I just... There's a reason we're doing this podcast.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, so we'll catch you then while you hear me defend the shit out of that movie. On the rewatch, you know what? That movie's really quite awful.
Michelle's going to come into it really defensive.
If you think about it makes sense.
Actually, maybe you don't get it.
See, he is an inspector.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe you just don't like gadgets.